Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Bluetron, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. So today we're looking at a deck that I've already taken a bit of a peek at, but now that Maximum Crisis is all the way out, I'd like to revisit it really quickly. I'm speaking about the Spiral Serpent Retrain, and I'm using the term retrain loosely, it is basically the exact same card, Phantasm Spiral. Now, I'm super excited to play around with their new toys, and I've come up with a build that just might have game against a few meta decks. Additionally, it is super cheap sans strikes, which is always a pretty big plus, so let's jump into deck edit and see what we're playing with. So here's the list. Now, there's a couple of things that have changed about it since the last time you saw it. As always, I'll give you a little bit of an overview about what the archetype is, a discussion of what I hope the deck can do, and as always, the card by card. So first, for those of you who don't know, Phantasm Spiral is a new archetype that debuted in Maximum Crisis, and it is a surefire one-off by Konami. It's a bunch of cards that are meant to center around this tribal monster, Phantasm Spiral Dragon, but kind of end up centering around the tribal field spell, Pacifist the Phantasm City. The deck has three parts. First is normal monsters, just big dumb beat sticks. Second is equipped spell cards that you can slap onto your normal monsters in order to summon Phantasm Spiral Dragon from your hand, deck, or graveyard if you fulfill a condition. And third is traps that can be activated from your hand if you have a normal monster on your side of the field and the field spell in your zone. The purpose of the deck is to set up the field spell, either assemble a Voltron of equipped spells onto one of our vanilla guys, an OTK with Phantasmal Spiral Dragon, or to play the field spell, wait for our opponent to do anything, and then get ourselves a normal monster token and a stun trap from our deck, which we can use to play a resource grindy style of game. It's kind of similar to Zodiac in that it's able to play a large assortment of hand traps as well as a buttload of cards that just one for one, since the amount of deck space we have to devote to the linear game plan is so low. Our backup plan is pretty simple as well. Since some of the best 4-star monsters in the game are waters, we're using them alongside Instant Fusion to make Bahamut Sharks and, I don't know, pretend we're just playing Totally Awesome Hero? We've also got access to 6 copies of Solemns, since we will always have a token available to turn on Champion's Vigilance. So, let's do the card by card. First, we are playing 2 copies of Phantasmal Spiral Dragon. I know you want me to play 3, but since they can technically be summoned from hand, we're not going to find ourselves in a, we drew Garnet kind of scenario anytime soon. And since each equip is once per turn, and one of them triggers at the end of the battle phase, we're not going to miss any OTKs by only playing 2. Next is 3 copies of Megalo Smasher X, and thank the good Lord Konami printed this card. It's a 4-star, water, normal, 2000 attack, just everything we need. The only downside is this stupid alliteration in the flavor text. This isn't metal, folk. Come on. After that, we have the 1850 Gaga, which isn't a big deal since we're always rescue rabbiting Megalo Smasher anyway. Said Rapid is next. It is a 1-card Bahamut Shark. After that is the real way we're going to win this game, our hand traps. We have 1 copy of a Lonely Max C, 2 Effect Veilers that should probably be Ash Blossoms, and 2 Ghost Ogres. Next is our spells. 3 copies of Pacifist, the greatest card ever. When your opponent activates a card or ability, you get an 8-star token, and whenever exactly 1 normal monster is summoned to your side of the field, snag a Phantasmal Spiral card from your deck. 3 copies of Terraforming to ensure that we get said nutty card. 2 copies of the Good Equip, which gives your guy 500 attack, triggers on monster death, and deals 1,000 to your opponent. 2 of the Medium Equip, which makes your guy not die by battle, triggers at the end of the battle step if they battled, and then discards 1 card from your opponent's hand. And finally, 1 of the Bad Equip, which gives Piercing, triggers on damage dealt, and lets you change an attack position monster to defense mode. Now, these ratios may seem weird, but we want to be able to find one of the 2 ofs. We don't hate drawing multiples unless they are the same one, and we need the ability to search the bad one in case we end up in a, like our opponent just didn't summon a monster scenario. 3 copies of Unexpected Dice helps us not unexpectedly die, and 2 Instant Fusion helps our backup plan. Hilariously, the guys we get off Norden can also attack, so we can even use it for combo setups. 1 copy of Regeki rounds out our spells. After that is 2 of the Good Hand Trap, which destroys 1 card your opponent controls and banishes to move around equip spells. 2 copies of the Medium Hand Trap, which negates effects and shrinks guys and banishes an equip spell from grave, and we are not playing the Win Condition Trap because it is so slow. Next is 3 copies of Champion's Vigilance, which is just a free Solemn Warning if you've got a level 7 normal monster, which the field spell gives you, and then 2 strikes and a warning. In the extra, we have 1 Hope Harbinger in case we get a sweet Spiral setup, 1 copy of Samurai, the Utopia Boys, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Castel, 2 Bahamut Shark, 2 Totally Awesome, 1 Trish, since technically we can make him with Effect Veiler, 1 Mech, since we can definitely make him with Instant Fusion, and then Theseus, Rare Fish, and Norden as our Instant Fusion targets. With that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against DDD, a deck that will always have a special place in my heart. Now, I'm not super well versed in the combos, but I believe this is a 4-card, and if not, this Allure of Darkness will certainly get him there. We've opened okay, we have access to Pacifist, and we have Phantasm Spiral Battle, which will be on, assuming our opponent does anything on their turn. We can also get another copy of a hand trap, so we maybe can make this work. We're going to go ahead and fire off this terraforming. Thankfully, we are going first. This allows us to get Pacifist, pass it back, and hope for the best. Our opponent is immediately going to fire off this Allure. I love the Radiant main deck. He finds a copy of Solemn Strike and Dimension Barrier, two cards that are kind of dead against us. Solemn Strike doesn't do anything to our equipped spell effects, and Dimension Barrier doesn't have any targets unless we're desperate enough to need to normal summon our effect failure. He's going to use Kepler to get a copy of Dark Contract, and immediately upon activation, I will destroy it. I mean, that's kind of it, right? He doesn't have the ability to go off in any other meaningful way, so we'll normal summon this Gaga Gigo, activate Phantasm Spiral Grip, and get attacking. This allows us to special summon a copy of Spiral, do 1,000, and attack for 3,400 and 2,000 from the token. Our second match is up against True King Dinos, a deck that I have heard is quite good. We've opened all right. I don't really know what constitutes a bad hand in this deck, but my intuition is that any hand with Pacifist in it is pretty good. We're going to go ahead and play this Pacifist, then normal summon this Megalo Smasher to get a Phantasm Spiral Battle to our hand. I don't really want to make turn 1 Tree Toad because I want these battles to be on, and the idea of getting 2 is just too much to pass up. This Petit Pterodon off the True King is going to get us another copy of Phantasm Spiral Battle, but I'm going to chain the copy in my hand to the Soul Devouring Overraptor just so he can't really combo off very effectively. We're going to go ahead and get that second one to our hand. Unfortunately, he's got another True King and another Petit Pterodon. Then he banishes the Mimiosaurus to get Tyranno Infinity, and I'm thinking I might be dead. Thankfully, we can destroy one of them. This guy will die at end of turn, and this guy can't attack because of the way they were summoned, so we might still be in this. This Instant Fusion is going to be step 1. We're going to get Norden and then immediately the Megalo Smasher. Now remember, it can attack. Its effects are just negated, so we'll equip both of these equipped spells and potentially get 2 of the big boy himself. There's number 1 in the battle phase, and number 2 once the battle phase is completed. Afterwards, we are going to go into a copy of Bahamut Shark, detach for Tree Toad, and then a copy of Hope Harbinger. Now remember, it's not a big deal that these are in the grave because we can always get them back with a hand trap. He's going to activate Fossil Excavation, which I guess I'll negate just because there's really nothing else to do. This gives you the Megalo Smasher back, and the game ends. Our third match is up against Paleozoic Frogs, and I have a sneaking suspicion this matchup is not particularly good for us. We have, unfortunately, 2 things going against us. We are not going first, and we did not open Pacifist. So let's see if we can clutch this one out. Our opponent's going to set for a Fiend Griefing, a Morella, an Oleanades, and an Anti-Spell. We do have Rescue Rabbit, which represents at the very least Tree Toad, so we'll go ahead and try that. He'll flip Anti-Spell in response, which is fine. I think that I want to get in with these Megalo Smashers first. He's going to send a Bewildering Wild off of the Morella and then allow us to do 4,000 to him. I'm fine with that. We'll go ahead and make Bahamut Shark, which lets him set Bewildering Wild, and unfortunately after that he flips the Fiend Griefing on our Megalo Smasher, is able to get this Backjack in his grave and special summon a Morello we can't do anything about. He's going to activate Oleanades to destroy our Solemn Strike, then Lost Wild our Tree Toad, which we will take. Afterwards, we'll return the Tree Toad because we have no other targets. Things are still looking all right. We'll use this Bahamut Shark. He flips up an Oleanades to target our Bewildering Wild and then makes an enormous chain, including Backjack. Jeez, when is the Chain Strike showing up already? Thankfully, we do have a Tree Toad that we can attack with. He's going to make another Oleanades by sending another card off Morella and then adding this Bewildering Wild back to his set zone. I mean, this is just going to go back and forth for the end of the game, I think. He's going to go ahead and go into Tree Toad, but I'm thinking that my Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit might actually be quite good here. I'm going to negate this Bewildering Wild just so I can have it on my side of the board, and when he goes to activate his own Toad, we're going to go ahead and destroy it. This means he'll get the Dupe Frog, but nothing else, which is fine with me, I think. We're going to normal summon the Megalo Smasher, use Instant Fusion to finagle out a lethal, get ourselves the Ghost Ogre back, then equip the Megalo Smasher off of the card we set, which allows us to 1, do 1,000 damage, and 2, summon Spiral Dragon for lethal. So we're back with the deck. I'm honestly super impressed with the showing. Those were good decks we were playing against. They're not the usual, Berry Girl Turbo that I show myself beating. To be honest, though, ever since Zoo got popular, I'm convinced you can win with anything, provided they're playing enough hand traps. The one gameplay downside is that pretty often you kind of have to finagle your way into lethal, but the extra damage from things like the equip spells certainly helps a lot. The good news is that I think this deck has a lot of game against a lot of tier 1 strategies. The bad news is that I think this deck has just an awful Zoo matchup. It seems to do a lot of the same stuff we're doing with Disruption, and it just draws more cards, and it summons effect monsters instead of big dumb dudes. I don't know. Having said that, if you're confident in your own ability to win die rolls, and if you feel like you can dodge Zoo at your next regional, try this sucker out. You may be shocked to find you're actually winning games. I know I was. Oh, and if you're willing to splurge, just play Ashes instead of Veilers. Trust me on that. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed such innovative insight as an $80 hand trap is better than a $3 one. If you want to see me play the decks that I make on this show on stream, I'm on twitch.tv/monobluetron every Monday and Wednesday from 10 to noon Eastern Standard Time, links in the description. And if you want to see me play a certain deck or archetype on a future episode of this show, let me know in the comments section below and I will take it into consideration. Otherwise, I will see you on Tuesday.